Welcome back to AndyDemos. Today I'd like to show you the Airborne Flanger from Krozz Devices out of Brazil. This is an all-analog Bucket Brigade Flanger based on a classic circuit, but as you can tell, it goes many different places thanks to some really cool features, so let's check it out. Whether you want classic airplane swoosh, musical pitch modulation, or metallic comb filtering, Krozz Devices have given their Airborne Flanger an extensive cockpit to make your journey possible. Positive feedback is more traditional, where the dry signal and the modulation signal are combined to produce a thick flange tone with a deep frequency sweep. Subtractive inverts the phase of the modulated signal and results in a more colorful flange voicing with a hollow, vocal-like quality. Then with the Oxidation knob, you could roll off the tone of the modulated signal for warmer flange sounds or even chorus, and experiment with the overtones brought on by maximum feedback, but without the self-oscillation. Unlike vintage designs, Krozz have made sure this device won't cut your signal and have given Airborne some massive output, as well as a wide speed range and frequency sweep. Plus, you could blast to the fastest speed at any point by using the right momentary foot switch. Inside Airborne are high-quality components and a new old stock Matsushita Panasonic Bucket Brigade device. Plus, you can disable the LFO internally and explore those frozen comb filter effects while still using the extensive feedback controls. Krozz devices are hand-built in Brazil with great attention to detail, and you can find more about the Airborne and other unique pedals at krozzdevices.com. Starting with a classic slow and wide flanger sweep, I want to show you the relationship between the oxidation or the filter and the feedback, and I'm staying in the classic positive or additive feedback mode here. So with the increased feedback, we have a very resonant sound with a lot of overtones. Now let's back off on the oxidation and see what happens. So you could use those high feedback settings and then back off on the tone of the wet signal and get some really interesting sounds that just aren't possible with a normal feedback configuration. Let's move to faster speeds to get sort of in that chorus territory, especially since the Airborne uses that topology of a classic electric mistress. So for these settings, I'll be using a lot less feedback to get into that chorus zone. Now we have that oxidation back, remember, so it's a warmer sound. Let's see what happens when you increase it all the way and you get this really bright and vibrant chorus tone. But when you throw some overdrive in the mix, you really start to hear those classic jet plane flange tones. And you can really just dial it in on any setting with a range that's high or low. So let's try those different settings. And of course, we're going to be using some higher feedback. Lower range settings have a higher frequency sweep, and it's a little bit more similar to the other feedback mode, which we'll get to in a minute. And now let's hear a whole new palette of sounds by switching to the subtractive or negative feedback mode. So in negative feedback, we're getting that classic hollowed out sound, almost like a through zero flanger. Let's try it with a wider range, so we're getting a little bit a deeper sound and a little bit more pitch modulation. Even get some really cool kind of phaser-like tones when you crank up the feedback and you back off on the oxidation. So you're enhancing all those harmonics, but not quite getting into self-oscillation. And staying with these faster speeds, you could get some really cool Leslie sounds when you back off on the feedback, and you could still use that feedback switch to get some different voicings. Let's get warm and wiggly by going all the way back with that oxidation knob, and I'm using just a little bit of feedback, and I'm in the higher range, which gets you a bit more pitch modulation because we're using a longer delay time. And here's an otherworldly flange tone by just creeping along at the slowest setting and using a lot of feedback. And I'm really taking advantage of the output on the Airborn, just cranking it up to get some extra overtones out of the amplifier. And again, I've just sweetened up the sound using that oxidation knob. It's just a great thing to have for a flanger because you could kind of tame some of those shrill frequencies coming through, but it's still a very kind of alien sound we're getting here. Well, there you go, some really tasty analog flange tones and even some chorus settings as well with the Airborn from Krozz Devices. You can check it out by visiting the links below or go to krozzdevices.com. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you for another Andy demo.